In 20 years of clinical practice, I have sat with thousands of patients who came to me carrying the same quiet fear. They had received a result, a number on a report, a phrase from their doctor, reduced kidney function, early chronic kidney disease, something about their GFR, that had sent them home with a weight they didn't quite know how to carry. And almost every one of them asked me the same question, in different words, but always meaning the same thing. Is there anything I can actually do? Not just slow things down, not just manage the decline, actually do. Something that moves in the direction of repair rather than simply the direction of damage control. I always tell them the same thing. Yes. And I mean it. Well, I'm Dr. Naira Stein, Senior Health and Wellness Consultant, and today I want to offer you the conversation that I wish every older adult could have with their doctor, but that the constraints of a standard appointment almost never allow. Because the truth about kidney repair, about what the body is genuinely capable of doing when it is given the right nutritional environment, is far more hopeful than most people over 60 have ever been told. There are foods backed by serious peer-reviewed research that support the biological processes by which kidney tissue repairs itself. Foods that reduce the inflammation strangling the nephrons. Foods that protect the delicate blood vessels feeding the kidney's filtering structures. Foods that help the body do, at the cellular level, what it has always been designed to do: recover, regenerate, and restore. Stay with us. What we discuss today could genuinely change the direction of your kidney health, and you deserve to know it. Before we talk about the 5 foods, I want to spend a moment on something that I think is the most important reframe in this entire conversation. When people hear the words kidney damage, they often picture something irreversible, a broken mechanism, scar tissue where living tissue used to be. And it is true that in advanced kidney disease, significant scarring, called fibrosis, does limit what recovery is possible. I will not overstate what food can achieve against structural damage that has been accumulating for decades. But here is what is also true, and what is almost never communicated with the clarity it deserves. Kidney disease, in the overwhelming majority of older adults who have it, exists on a spectrum. And in the early to middle stages of that spectrum, the kidney is not a fixed, passive structure passively deteriorating. It is a living, biologically active organ whose cells are continuously being damaged and repaired simultaneously. The question of whether function improves, stabilizes, or declines is largely a question of which process is winning, the damage or the repair. And that balance is profoundly influenced by what we eat. The right foods do not simply slow the damage, they actively shift resources toward the repair side of that equation. They reduce the inflammatory burden crushing kidney cells. They provide the molecular building blocks those cells need to restore their own membranes and structures. They improve blood flow to the kidney, the capillary level, ensuring that the repair machinery has the oxygen and nutrients it needs to operate. This is not wishful thinking. It is biochemistry, and it is the basis of everything we are about to discuss. The first food I want to talk about is one that I have thought carefully about how to introduce, because its reputation in popular culture is so strongly associated with general wellness that its specific documented effects on kidney tissue can get lost in the noise. I'm talking about blueberries. And I want to go much deeper with you than the usual conversation about antioxidants, because the mechanism by which blueberries support kidney repair is specific, layered, and genuinely remarkable once you understand it. The primary active compounds in blueberries are a family of pigments called anthocyanins, the molecules responsible for the fruit's deep blue-purple color. These are not passive antioxidants in the sense of simply neutralizing free radicals, though they do that efficiently and in the kidney, where oxidative stress is a primary driver of cellular damage. That alone is meaningful. Anthocyanins also directly modulate the inflammatory pathways operating inside kidney tissue. Specifically, they inhibit a molecular signaling pathway called NF-kappa B, which functions as a master switch for inflammation inside cells. When NF-kappa B is chronically activated, as it is in aging, stressed kidney tissue, it drives a sustained inflammatory state that destroys nephron structures, accelerates fibrosis, and impairs the kidney's ability to regenerate. Anthocyanins suppress this switch. They do not eliminate inflammation, which would be harmful. Inflammation has a necessary role in repair. They calm the chronic, smoldering, dysregulated inflammation that is destroying rather than healing. Beyond the anti-inflammatory mechanism, blueberries improve the health of the endothelium, the single-cell thick lining of the blood vessels that feed the kidney. The kidney is one of the most vascularly dense organs in the body, and the health of its capillary network is directly determinative of how well its nephrons can function. Repair. Anthocyanins increase the availability of nitric oxide in endothelial cells, relaxing and widening blood vessels, improving microcirculation, and ensuring that kidney tissue receives the oxygen and nutrient delivery it needs to support repair processes. Studies in both animal models and human clinical trials have shown measurable improvements in kidney biomarkers following consistent blueberry consumption, including reductions in urinary markers of oxidative stress and inflammation. A cup of fresh or frozen blueberries daily, consumed consistently over weeks and months, is not a dramatic gesture. It is a precise, biologically targeted intervention delivered in the form of something genuinely delicious. The second food represents a category that I want to approach with the same precision because it is widely understood to be healthy in general terms, but its specific contribution to kidney repair is rooted in a mechanism that most people have never heard explained. I'm talking about fatty fish, specifically the cold water varieties, richest in long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, salmon, sardines, mackerel, and herring. And the reason these fish are so specifically valuable for the kidneys goes well beyond their general reputation for cardiovascular benefit. The kidney's filtration barrier, the intricate membrane through which blood is filtered inside each glomerulus, is composed largely of specialized lipid structures. The integrity of those membranes depends substantially on the types of fatty acids incorporated into them. When the diet is rich in omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA, these compounds are incorporated into kidney cell membranes throughout the organ. Membranes rich in omega-3 fatty acids are more fluid, more flexible, and significantly more resistant to oxidative damage than membranes dominated by saturated or omega-6 fatty acids. They are better at maintaining their structural integrity under the inflammatory conditions that characterize kidney disease. But the omega-3 contribution to kidney repair extends beyond membrane structure. EPA and DHA are the precursors to a family of signaling molecules called resolvins and protectins, compounds whose names reflect precisely what they do. Resolvins actively resolve inflammatory processes in tissues, sending the molecular signal that acute phase of inflammation has served its purpose and that repair should now begin. Protectins protect cells from oxidative injury and from apoptosis, the programmed cell death that removes irreparably damaged cells, but that, when dysregulated, eliminates cells that might otherwise have recovered. In kidney tissue specifically, research has demonstrated that omega-3 supplementation slows the progression of proteinuria, reduces inflammatory markers in the blood, and is associated with preservation of GFR over time in adults with early chronic kidney disease. 2 to 3 servings of fatty fish per week provides a level of EPA and DHA that supports these processes in ways that plant-based omega-3 sources, flaxseed, walnuts, cannot fully replicate because the conversion of plant-based omega-3 to the active EPA and DHA forms is inefficient in the human body, particularly in older adults. The third food is one whose kidney protective properties were largely unknown until relatively recently, and whose inclusion in this conversation reflects some of the most exciting developments in nutritional nephrology of the last decade. Red cabbage. Specifically, the raw or lightly cooked form, because cooking substantially reduces the concentration of the compounds responsible for its most remarkable kidney effects. Red cabbage belongs to the cruciferous vegetable family, alongside broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts, all of which share certain beneficial properties. But red cabbage carries an additional and specific asset that sets it apart in the context of kidney repair. Red cabbage is exceptionally low in potassium and phosphorus relative to most vegetables, a nutritional profile that makes it one of the few genuinely kidney-safe vegetables that can be consumed generously by older adults managing phosphate and potassium levels. But beyond its low mineral burden, red cabbage is one of the richest dietary sources of a compound called indole-3-carbinol, which is produced when cruciferous vegetables are chewed or cut, and their cell walls release an enzyme that acts on a precursor compound. Indole-3-carbinol and its derivative diindolylmethane have been shown in research to suppress TGF-beta signaling, a pathway that, when chronically activated in the kidney, drives the fibrosis that replaces functional kidney tissue with non-functional scar tissue. By moderating TGF-beta activity, these compounds may actually slow and, in some experimental models, partially reverse the fibrotic process that progressive kidney disease depends on. Red cabbage also contains powerful anthocyanins, the same family of compounds found in blueberries, giving it overlapping anti-inflammatory and endothelial protective properties alongside its unique anti-fibrotic mechanism. It is inexpensive, widely available year-round, and can be incorporated into the diet in ways that are genuinely varied and satisfying, as a raw slaw, lightly braised, fermented as sauerkraut, which adds probiotic benefit, or added to soups and stews in the final minutes of cooking to preserve its most active compounds. This is a food that the kidney research community has paid increasing attention to in recent years, and for good reason. The fourth food brings us to one of the oldest and most extensively studied plants in both traditional medicine and modern nutritional science, whose kidney protective properties have been validated by a body of research substantial enough to give any clinician confidence in recommending it. Garlic. Not garlic powder, not garlic flavoring, not the trace amounts used to season a dish, but genuine, meaningful daily consumption of fresh or minimally processed garlic in amounts that deliver therapeutically relevant concentrations of its active compounds. The primary active molecule in garlic is allicin, which is formed when raw garlic is crushed or chopped and two previously separated compounds, allin and the enzyme allinase, come into contact. Allicin is both directly antioxidant and indirectly anti-inflammatory, reducing the oxidative stress that drives nephron damage and calming the inflammatory pathways we discussed in the context of blueberries. But garlic's kidney-specific benefits extend well beyond general antioxidant activity. Garlic has been shown in multiple clinical and laboratory studies to reduce kidney fibrosis, the scarring process that represents the final common pathway of most forms of chronic kidney disease. It does this in part by modulating TGF-beta signaling, similar to the mechanism we discussed for red cabbage, and in part by suppressing the activity of a group of enzymes called matrix metalloproteinases that regulate the breakdown and remodeling of the connective tissue matrix within the kidney. Garlic also significantly improves endothelial function in the renal vasculature, the network of blood vessels supplying the kidney, by mechanisms overlapping with, but distinct from, those of anthocyanins, creating a complementary vascular benefit when both foods are consumed together. There is also a specific and clinically important benefit related to blood pressure. Garlic has been shown in meta-analyses of randomized controlled trials to produce meaningful reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure, reductions comparable in some studies to low-dose antihypertensive medication. Since hypertension is one of the two leading drivers of kidney disease progression, this blood pressure effect is not ancillary to garlic's kidney benefits. It is central to them. 2 to 4 cloves of fresh garlic daily, incorporated consistently into cooking, crushed and allowed to rest for 10 minutes before heat is applied to preserve allicin formation, is a practical and evidence-supported component of any kidney protective diet. The fifth food completes this conversation in a way I find deeply satisfying because it connects the biology of kidney repair to the biology of sleep and cellular restoration that we have discussed in other contexts. And it does so through a mechanism that feels almost too elegant to be real, and yet is documented with extraordinary consistency across the research literature. I'm talking about red bell peppers, and specifically their role in supporting kidney repair through a combination of properties that address simultaneously almost every major driver of kidney damage in older adults. Red bell peppers are among the lowest potassium vegetables available, lower even than many other peppers, making them one of the safest and most generous dietary choices for older adults with reduced kidney function who must be mindful of potassium intake. They are virtually free of phosphorus burden, and within that kidney-safe nutritional envelope, they deliver a concentration of beneficial compounds that is genuinely remarkable. Red bell peppers are one of the richest dietary sources of vitamin C available, containing more per gram than oranges, more than most citrus fruits. In the context of kidney repair, vitamin C serves a specific and critical function beyond its general antioxidant role. Vitamin C is the primary reducing agent responsible for regenerating vitamin E within cell membranes, restoring the membrane protective function of vitamin E after it has been oxidized in the course of neutralizing free radicals. This recycling partnership between vitamin C and E is one of the most important antioxidant systems in human biology, and it operates with particular importance in kidney cell membranes where oxidative stress is a primary mechanism of damage. Adequate vitamin C ensures that the membrane protective effect of vitamin E is sustained rather than depleted, providing continuous protection to the lipid structures of the nephron. Red bell peppers also contain lycopene, the same carotenoid found in tomatoes, but at concentrations that are meaningfully available even in the cooked form, since lycopene bioavailability actually increases with gentle heat. Lycopene has been shown in research to reduce inflammatory markers specifically associated with kidney disease progression, including interleukin-6 and C-reactive protein, and to reduce the oxidative modification of LDL cholesterol, a process directly relevant to the vascular health of the kidney's capillary network. And red bell peppers contain vitamin B6 in amounts that support an important metabolic function specifically related to kidney stone prevention. Vitamin B6 is a cofactor for an enzyme that converts oxalate, the compound we have previously discussed as a primary component of kidney stones and a contributor to kidney tissue damage when it accumulates, into other products that are safely excreted. Adequate B6, delivered consistently through dietary sources, reduces the kidney's oxalate burden in a quiet, continuous, and cumulative way. I want to close today by returning to the question I mentioned at the beginning, the question my patients ask when they sit across from me carrying the weight of a number on a report. Is there anything I can actually do? The 5 foods we have discussed today are not a prescription. They are not a replacement for medical care or for the conversation with your own physician about your kidney function specifically, but they are real. The research behind them is peer-reviewed, consistent, and growing. And they represent something that I believe every older adult deserves access to: the knowledge that the body's capacity for repair has not expired simply because a certain number of birthdays have passed. Blueberries every day, fatty fish several times a week, red cabbage in generous, regular portions, garlic, fresh and meaningful, in your daily cooking, red bell peppers, raw or gently cooked, as a cornerstone of your vegetable intake. These are not dramatic sacrifices. They are beautiful, accessible, affordable foods that happen to align almost perfectly with what a kidney under stress needs most. The body has always been trying to heal itself. Your job, and it is a job worth taking seriously, is to give it what it needs to succeed. Start at your next meal. Your kidneys have been waiting for exactly this kind of help, and they are far more ready to respond to it than most people are ever told.